What if I told you there was a market on Betfair where you don't need to predict the score? You don't need to know the correct score to win. You don't need to predict a winner or pray for that last minute goal. How many times have you been sitting there trading just kind of fingers crossed that that last minute goals come in? I know I've been there many times. And yet you could still build a consistent profit with a low risk strategy that actually works. What if I told you that? Well, if I told you that, I'm sure you go, Martin, please tell me what it is. So we're going to go through that today because I'm going to talk about under 3.5 goals. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to create a strategy for under 3.5 goals, the parameters that I would use, and hopefully that'll give you some ideas to get your creative juices flowing so that you can create one yourself or adapt the filter to suit your particular style of trading and build something that will be profitable trading on Betfair. Let's go. If you're new here, obviously I'm Martin from Betfair Trading Community. We've been doing this for over 10 years now, training thousands of Betfair traders on football and horse racing and basically helping them to become better at trading on Betfair. That's the goal. That's what you should always have in your mind when you're trading on Betfair. How can I improve? What can I do to make things better? So why have I picked under 3.5 goals for this particular video? It's consistent, right? It's a consistent market. You know how the odds are going to go based on the goals. It gives you multiple score lines that win. If there's an early goal, it's not great, obviously, but it doesn't kill your trade. You need 4 goals to lose this trade. So an early goal is not necessarily the end of the world. Whereas obviously if you're trading, let's say under 1.5 goals, an early goal is an absolute killer. The odds will go so big on under 1.5 goals that actually it will make it very difficult in that moment for you to trade out. And you're just there praying there's not another quick goal that totally takes your whole stake. And this is the thing. You're not betting on no goals. I think when people think of unders markets, they think, well, I'm just betting on no goals, basically. That's not the case here. You can have 3 goals and still win this trade. And that is a nice position to be in. You just don't want a 4-3 thriller or a 4-all draw. But you've got score lines covered. You've got those low score lines like 0-0, 1-0 covered. But you've also got 2-0, 2-1. 3-0s covered. So that's something that you can have in your back pocket that can be really handy, and it gives you a wide margin of safety. And as Betfair traders, that's one thing that we can always feel a little bit good about. So I want to get into building the strategy in particular today because I think this is what you're going to be most interested in. And the first thing I'm going to say is I'm not going to look at different leagues today. I'm not going to look at filtering leagues, but that is something that you should do. You should look to trade leagues you're comfortable with, leagues that you understand, leagues that you know. Most people start off trading with the Premier League, the Serie A, Bundesliga, French League, and the La Liga, etc. And some people just take the top leagues in Europe, top leagues in South America, top leagues in Asia, top leagues in North America. And that's absolutely fine as well. But find the leagues that you're comfortable with, that you have an understanding with, because leagues can make quite a big difference on a strategy. So that's just the first point I'm going to make here. The second thing you're going to want to do is use historical data. Obviously, you want teams that don't score or concede a lot. So inside the Betfair trading software here, as you can see on the screen, I'm going to show you a filter that I have built today, show you the parameters I've chosen and talk a little bit about why. So let's move over to that filter now. I'm going to click edit filter. It's a bit of a dead day today because it's a Tuesday in the middle of the Club World Cup, so there's not a lot of league football on. But I want to show you what I've created here, and I want to show you the thinking behind that. And hopefully this will give you some ideas for the parameters you could use for your strategies. And I'll also explain what you can tweak with this as well. And also I'm happy to share this filter. So if anyone wants a copy of this filter, just say the words under 3.5 goals and I will share this strategy with you. So first off, as you can see here, we've got away goals scored per match less than or equal to 1.5. Now, you obviously don't want teams that score loads of goals with this strategy, but I have specifically chosen to separate them out. So rather than go for home or away goals and go for overall, I've picked them as away and home. So I've got away goals scored per match and home goals scored by match. They are the first two filters here, and I've picked the numbers 1.5. Now, this is a little bit arbitrary. You could choose different figures if you wanted to. You might want to look for teams that score maybe less than 1 goal per game, or you might want to look for teams that go up to say 1.7, because you know that, well, if I combine that, it'll be around that 3.5 goals mark. The reason I've chosen 1.5 here is that, let's say the home team and away team, okay, they average 1.5 goals scored per game or less, but let's say they average 1.5. Well, let's say the result should be something like, at worst, 2-1, right? In that situation where one team gets 2, one team gets 1, and it averages at 1.5. That's fine. A 2-1 result, we win this trade. When you're creating a strategy, always think specifically about the market and the worst case scenario. And in this scenario here, that's kind of the worst case scenario for winning, 3 goals. Because if we have another goal, we lose. So the worst it can go for us still to win is for there to be 3 goals. I've used this then as the parameter to look for 3 goals or less. Now you might think, yeah, but Martin, why don't you just go for something really small? Why don't you go for 1 goal or less? Because then you're going to find teams that really hardly ever score. Reality is, A, you're unlikely to get many teams that score 1 and less goal per game average. But also B, if both teams are doing that, it's actually quite unlikely that you're going to get good odds on under 3.5 goals. And I will talk about odds and value in a minute, because that is, again, a key imperative part of any Betfair trading strategy you want to create on under 3.5 goals. Now, the second part of this is pretty much the same, except for instead of going for goals scored, we're going for goals conceded. And again, I've separated this out between the home and the away team. What is the reason for this? Same with the scored one. The reason is very simple. If the home team, let's say in this situation I put overall, right? Overall goals scored per match 3. But what if the home team scores 2.5 goals on average and the away team scores 0.5? Well, I'm getting a situation where the market's very much warped towards one team scoring, and they could score quite a lot of goals. Whereas here, I'm in a situation where neither team is a really high scoring team. And therefore, I like that a bit better, because I like the idea that, well, both the teams fit this criteria. If I go for it the other way around and the home team does score lots of goals, but they still fit within the parameters if I combine the two, well, I can't really be surprised if the home team wins 4-0. And I can't really feel like I've made a really bad really good decision in that scenario. I much prefer separating these out. And again, it's these kinds of things, these kinds of factors, these kinds of decisions that you can make. You can do it your way, you can do it different to me. But I think often this is what separates the better traders from the ones who get stuck, because they look at the more broad stats and they don't narrow it down and really focus it in. Okay, the next stat I'm looking for is overall, and that is full-time both teams to score less than 50%. Now you can change this to kind of keep it how you want it to be. Here's why I think both teams to score and a low both teams to score percentage is good for under 3.5 goals. It's very hard to lose this trade if both teams don't score. Here's why. The only score lines you lose on are 4-0, 5-0, maybe 6-7-0, but realistically in the top European leagues, top leagues in the world, how often do we see those score lines? Very, very unlikely, okay? So if you've got teams that don't have both teams to score very often, you've got a high chance here, because the reality is that one of the teams is going to have to win big in that scenario. So I like this. I like using both teams to score. I've used overall full-time both teams to score 50 or less percent. Again, you can use this. You can toggle the percentages. I would recommend doing that. I would also recommend testing the strategy, which I'll talk about in a bit, to work out what works for you. And then the final one, kind of related to an actual filter in terms of looking at the historical data, is I want to look at teams that have under 3.5 goals 75% of the time. Now that is quite high. I might need to adjust that and tweak that to get some selections when the weekend does come around and there's a lot more football on. But the reality is that under 3.5 goals, we need it to happen fairly often, right? We don't want under 3.5 goals to not be a very regular thing. And so this is kind of important, obviously, to us as traders. And then I think that's pretty obvious, right? So I won't dwell on that one too much. Let's look at the Betfair under 3.5 goal odds, which is the next one just here. Betfair under 3.5 goal odds must be greater than or equal to 1.33. Okay, why is that? Well, this is actually directly related to the stat above. If I've got teams that have under 3.5 goals 75% of the time, their odds should be 1.33. Okay, so the market odds would be correct to the historical data. Okay, now I've also got the plus of all these other stats above it backing me up. But here's where it gets interesting. We're looking for teams that have at least 75%, and we're looking at odds that are at least 1.33. The reality is, in this scenario, we're going to get lots of teams that have had, say, 80% under 3.5 and odds that are, say, 1.4 plus or 1.5, right? We're going to get matches higher. These are minimum bases. Now, if your minimum stats are break even, anything above that, in theory, could be profitable. Now, again, you need to test this. You can't just blanket look at something like this and go, wow, this will be profitable. But it's a really, really strong base to start from. And the final stat I'm using here is overall matches played greater than or equal to 8. And that just means they played a few games that season, so we can use that data and kind of make some sense of it, and it's worthwhile to look at. But the odds and the under 3.5 goal percentage, in theory, are where the value should be coming from. And again, I mentioned this, value is imperative to any strategy you create. You need to be thinking about odds. Look, if I get a game that's got 80% under 3.5 goals chance, brilliant. But am I backing it at 1.1 odds? No chance, okay? And you might not like this. You might get 1.33 is too short. Okay, we'll change the parameters. But you might then need to change your under 3.5 percentage and make it a little bit lower. Because reality is, you're not going to get many situations where the under 3.5 goal odds are 1.5, but the history is suggesting there's a 90% chance of it happening. Okay, so you kind of need to tweak that, put those things in line and use it in that way. But once you've done all of this, obviously, then you can look at restricting the leagues. You can select which leagues you'd like. Do you want the Belgian league? Do you want the Brazilian Serie A? Do you want the Chilean league? Let's go down to England. Which English leagues do you want? Do you want the Premier League? Most of you are going to be trading that league, right? Then you go through here. Now there's a couple more boxes I've ticked. I've gone for last 10 matches. I generally keep that the same with the scope. Restrict to current season. I'm not interested in what happened last season. It's a totally different season. Obviously. Restrict to going in play matches. Look, I'm predominantly looking to trade these. You might be using these as set and forget. That's fine. But I like to have the option. Okay, I like to have the option of trading and then exclude playoffs. Playoff games are just hard to trade. And also with that, I'd say if the season's only got a couple of games left, I wouldn't be trading it either. Anyone who's followed me for a long time will know that's what I do. Then you give the filter a name, which I've already done, so I don't need to do that again. And then you click save and you've got your strategy, okay? But these are the parameters for it. And I think that should really help you as a Betfair trader. Once you've saved this, every day the software is going to give you the matches that fit your criteria. And you might find you need to perhaps make your filters a little bit less harsh, if you will, with the stats. You might need to bump up some of these stats just so that you get some selections, but always try and keep the value principle in play when you're doing that. And I know some of this is a little bit advanced, so if you're a little bit stuck on what I'm saying, just message me or comment on the video and I will help you. I'll talk to you. We can chat on email, info@betfairtradingcommunity.com, and help you there as well. But the great thing with this is that we've created this and we're going to get a solid short list of matches that we can trade every week. And that's what Betfair Trading is all about. I then want you to start tracking your results. I then want you, because this is where most traders fall down, right? They don't track their results and they get stuck. I want you to use a spreadsheet. We've got a spreadsheet we can give you. If you want a copy of that spreadsheet, just say the word spreadsheet in the comments. I will give you that. You can use that to track your results. And even if you have a decent strategy, you've got to track it. Because so many times someone's come to me and they've gone, my strategy isn't working. I go, okay, show me the strategy or show me the results. Let's see why. And they go, oh, I haven't been tracking it. Okay, so what's not working? How do you know what's not working? Oh, I don't. I just know that it's not making any money. Okay, great, but I've got nothing to look at. And it's not about me, it's about you. You've got nothing to look at, and you're not going to be able to help improve yourself as a Betfair trader. And that's something, look, you should always be thinking about that first and foremost. I get frustrated sometimes because some people, I think they forget that. But you're always looking to improve yourself as a Betfair trader. And you can log in and see every selection for your strategy every day and how it's performing. It's absolutely brilliant when you start tracking. And I quite like doing the results. I quite like going in every day, tracking the results, putting in the score lines, seeing whether they're profitable or not. You know, get into that routine, get into that habit, and it becomes a daily habit. And I enjoy doing that. I've done it for 20 years now overall. I've been on Betfair doing this stuff. I've always been tracking my results, and I found it infinitely helpful. And I find that the traders who do well tend to do that, and the traders that don't tend not to. So there's definitely some correlation between the two. So yeah, if you want to build your own under 3.5 goal strategy, I suggest you just get on the Betfair Trading Community software right now and go and build one. If you want a copy of this strategy itself, maybe you want to edit it, I'm happy to send it to you. Just put under 3.5 goals in the comments and I will send you over that strategy. One thing you can do as well, if you get a copy of this and you might go, well, I do want to have a higher both teams to score percentage. I'm happy to go higher there. What you can do is select it. You can change it. So let's say you change it to 60 and then you can click update. It then updates it for you. So you've now changed that parameter. So instead of having to go through and find all of these things that I've created, you can actually use them and then tweak the figures as you like. Because again, that's the thing that's the most malleable about a strategy like this. You can change the figures that you use. You can change figures. You can choose figures that you think will work or figures that you will suit your style of trading more. So just go to betfairtradingcommunity.com. If you're not a member, we do a half price first month. It costs virtually nothing. That's so cheap. It's well worth doing. Go and find out if this is software that will be useful to you, especially with the new season kicking off. Most of you guys are going to be chomping at the bit, I'm sure, to get hold of this. We'll get you set up. We even give you a pre-made strategy to start with, and we'll show you how to make it your own. And if you want, I can actually put this into your software for you. Again, I can export this right now. So if I click export and you see it pops up there. So actually, I can send that to you and you've literally got the strategy itself. How cool is that? So remember, trading football is all about edges. We should always be trying to find value. When you build strategies with data instead of your gut feeling, that's when things really start to click. Hit like if you like this video, if it helped you. Remember to subscribe, that helps you and it helps us as a channel. And it lets me know that you still want to have videos like this, and that's always good. Comment on the video, tell me if you've enjoyed the video or not. Feel free to do that. We always encourage any kind of feedback. And yeah, I hope you have a great week. I hope you make some money on trading on Betfair, and I will see you in the next one.